Welcome back. Today we're doing a little job on the cheap, or maybe a bigger job. We're gonna change the exhaust manifold because it's blowing. We welded that about half a year ago, maybe 8 months ago. But knowing already it's due because it's cracked all over the place. But at this time I didn't have one and it was blowing really bad, so I just botched up some weldings because the stuff is really ugly to weld. So today we're going to take the whole thing apart and change it. First, air filter comes out. Well, we need to make some room first, so air filter, fans, I loosened the bolts already, belt, steering pump, all the electrics, cables, everything's coming out. And then the really nasty part with the bottom bolts you can't really get to, really. It's a bit of a pain, but that's how it is. Alright, let's start. So very first we're going to take the air filter out. It's just a plastic snap, and if you don't tighten the bolts at the bottom you can easily tilt it over so you can get it out. Because you need to unhook it here, and if you leave it, you need to unhook it here on these lugs here, and if you leave it a bit loose in the grommets at the bottom you can tilt it over because the ECU is in the way. Two 13mm nuts and bolts at the bottom. Let's get them out. Then just take the airbox out. There's still a little bit of room. I already took the bolts out of the radiator fan, so it's going to be a bit quicker because there's not much to show apart from taking them out. I got an electric fan on this side, makes life a bit easier. It was a bit tricky to get it fitted, but at the end we made it. So that come out. Ground of my radiator fan. As you might guess, I've done that a few times already. So now we're getting some room here. I loosened the alternator bolt already, so you can easily take the belt off. As you might see, the belt routing is a bit different. I don't have this, if that's visible on camera, I don't have the original radiator fan anymore. It's just a bearing left. So we need to take all this rubble off, which is basically just an exercise, taking all the bolts out. No, we don't need that's the injector rail, we don't need to take that out. We can leave that in this time. We need to take that off, which holds all the cables, throttle and gearbox, all those things. Sometimes a bit hard to get to, but I've got something leaking here. I need to check if it's water or if it's oil or whatever, I don't know. Something is always leaking down there. So once you got all the nuts and bolts out, take all the plugs out. It's clear where they go, but if you do it first time, it's probably a good idea to mark them. I don't need to because I know where they're going. So this plug with that sort of ribbonish cable which goes down to the back is the crankshaft position sensor. When you refit the whole thing, make sure you plug that in, because it could easily be lost at the back somewhere, and then you wonder why your engine doesn't fire, because you have no crank signal. Okay, and then once you got all the cables out, just pull all the hoses. There's a special one with this one. You need a tool for getting the fuel line out, and then we take the steering pump forward, so we got a bit of room, and then we can take the manifold out. It's actually a relatively simple job, but the really annoying part are the nuts at the bottom, or is it bolts, I can't remember, because you can't get there. You just bend your fingers. Okay, let's get the fuel line tool. To get the fuel line off, you need one of these. I'll show you in a second how it works. First you need to take the retainer off, and that hooks on this side. Just clamp it off, and then you take, I always take the wrong one, but I think it's the blue one. That goes over your fuel line, and then you push it in, and what it does, it's creating a way to get over that. There's a bit of fuel left. No, you can drain it here, but it's okay. To get over that hump here, that's the whole trick of that tool. But without that, you may damage the coupling. It can be painful to get it out. So to get the steering pump bolts out, you need I think it's a 30mm socket. Could be a 15, I don't know. No, it's a 13. So, sorry for the shadow here. The pulley got holes, and all you do is just go through the holes and take the screws out. All this does is giving us some room to handle the manifold. And it's all on flexi lines, so you can actually pull it forward. That's one of the reasons why I want to take the radio fan out, because it's so, it can be a bit of it can be annoying to get there. Nice and warm today, sun is shining. We've got a relatively sharp shadow here, so nothing I can do about that. That's the bolt. They go all the way through here and screw into the manifold. That's the reason why I need to come out. That's the boring part. Let me get that off. So some of you might notice it looks different than yours, because this is a right-hand drive. So everything on this side is a bit different, and some designs are really crappy because they just gobbled it together to make it a right-hand drive. So my Econ sits down here. The alternator is over there, where I think on the US version the alternator is on this side and the aircon is over there. I'm not entirely sure with the steering pump, I think it's on the other side as well. I don't know really. Never had a left-hand drive. Okay, so you need to get all the pipework off here. That's just the vacuum pipes. More here. That's for the brake booster. So it should be loose so far. Okay, pop these out. Just push them forward. They just, but sometimes they won't really do what I want. This one is clipped. Just pop it out. Those are pushed forward, so they're pushing back when they're in operation. But this one is just popped in. That's the throttle cable, and that's the cruise control here, and this is the kickdown cable for the gearbox. But you only have that if you got an auto. So, and then when you got all the bolts out, that's a minimum requirement. Get all the nuts and bolts out here. You might be able to take it away. Sometimes the injector, check the cables in the way as well. So I secured all my injector plugs with cable ties, because I'm using different injectors and the plugs are, let's say they don't fit 100%. So yeah, effectively I've had to take the rubbers out to get the plugs in, because it's the wrong plugs for the injectors. I got the Grand Cherokee injectors, which are flowing a little bit more fuel. So once you're done, take the cables away. Check this. All our injector cables are out. We don't need to take the fuel rail off, except you want to work on the injectors. I make another video when I do the injector gaskets here, because I had to do them a while ago. There is on the rear, on that stud here, there is a ground wire that needs to come off. Let me get the right tools and I'll come back. So now we're at the point where the fun starts. Need a good collection of different length extensions here. Also need a cardan, because the problem is the nut or the bolt sits higher than the bottom of the manifold. This only applies if you use a WJ manifold. On the normal XJ manifold, I think you can go straight in, but I got a bigger manifold here, so gives you more torque at the bottom end and better flow because the ways are much bigger. Okay, I'll take these bolts out. I'm already set for the first one here, and I show you afterwards where the bolts are, and you may understand why it's so bad. So I got them out, all four of them. Lost a bit of skin as usual. I leave one bolt in so it doesn't fall down, and I'll just take that one out, and you can see it's sagging down now. That's how they look like. You need to torque them to spec because these washers are sort of springy thing, and don't over torque them, otherwise you ruin the gasket. So the only problem we have is that cable needs to go through here, and it's a bit tight, because that, when you take the injector rail off, you don't have that issue. So it should be loose now. Let's try it out, if you can get it out. Okay, we loosen the rail a little bit so we have a bit more space. I might be in the way, but I need to get that thing out here. Okay, got it. So if you take the rail off, you can take the cable away as well. That's how it is. That's hard. It's all coming out. Okay, so here we are. That's where the bolt's sitting. We got one here. We got one here, and one here. And these bolts are clamping the intake manifold as well. As you see, I wrapped my manifold with heat resistant stuff. It helps actually cooling the intake manifold down a little bit, and it makes a difference in fuel consumption as well. So now we got 3 bolts left, which is this one, and there is another one at the back, which are holding the exhaust manifold. We also need to take the bolts out which go to the downpipe. That's a relatively easy one because you can easily get there. Now the intake is out. Alright, let's take those bolts out. The bottom ones, don't need to show that, it's just a nut and bolt. Okay.